Alright, so this is the type of shit that I like to see. Alright, so really, really important news came out. Canelo Alvarez, and we know why he's now taking that mid-ass fight against Yildirim, is he's agreed to terms to fight Billy Joe Saunders in May of this year. More than likely, he's fighting Billy Joe Saunders on Cinco De Mayo weekend, which makes a ton of sense. Now, this fight ultimately, like, it gives me a couple different revelations. The first one is we now know that Oscar De La Hoya was the problem here, considering that these are all the guys that when Canelo was under contract with Golden Boy and DAZN that DAZN wasn't approving of, because DAZN said that Golden Boy was promising a third Golovkin fight. And now that Canelo has left Golden Boy, Callum Smith and Billy Joe Saunders, those two fights were deemed not important when Golden Boy was in the mix. But now that they're out of the mix, DAZN has no problem making this fight. So that just goes to show you that Oscar De La Hoya, you really fucked yourself over when it came to Canelo. But for Canelo Alvarez, he is taking yet another step to do another unification fight. So he is fighting Billy Joe Saunders in May for what would be the WBA, WBC, and the WBO Super Middleweight Championship. Now, the only thing I would have to say as a little bit of devil's advocate is, could Canelo had gone the route of a Caleb Plant? Yes. Do I think Caleb Plant deserves just as much of an opportunity as Billy Joe Saunders? Absolutely. But I'm not mad at this fight, because this is going to be a fight of high IQ boxing. You know, Billy Joe Saunders, as much as a disappointment he's been in terms of when you look at his resume as a champion, this is the type of fight that he needs in order to make us believers again. Because the last time he was in this situation, he got the fight against David Lemieux and absolutely just dog-walked Lemieux for, 12 rounds. And many people, including myself, I felt that he beat Lemieux a lot more convincingly than Gennady Golovkin, who stopped Lemieux, only because Gennady Golovkin ultimately fought a style of fighting that was not prototypical to him fighting David Lemieux, whereas Billy Joe Saunders looked like Billy Joe Saunders, and he made David Lemieux, in David Lemieux's style of fighting, look like he had no business being in the ring with him. So when it comes to Canelo Alvarez versus Billy Joe Saunders, Canelo is fighting yet another fighter who is really good on his feet, who knows how to counterpunch, and who knows how to use every bit of real estate in the ring in order to make life hell for his opponents. So Canelo, if you would have told me about this fight with Canelo like 3 years ago, I probably would have seen it a little bit closer. But Canelo has pretty much solved his ability of cutting off the ring versus guys who are slick fighters. So Billy Joe Saunders is going to have a very difficult night against Canelo Alvarez, but I do believe that, if there was any opportunity that he had to go for broke and do everything possible to get a fight that was this magnitude, it was this fight. And for me, really, the only piece of advice that I can give to any of these guys, just as a fan's point of view, is Billy Joe Saunders, I don't care what happens between now and May. Whatever PED cycle that you fucked over in the past, don't fuck this up for us. You've been bitching about this fight, so don't fuck this up.